He started top 10 in all but one of his starts in the 500. 6 Daytona victories in the Nationwide Series. He won the 500 in 2004. 3 dual qualifying races. 3 nationwide races on Saturday and 2 Budweiser shootouts.
We've just seen a very upbeat Dale Earnhardt Jr. throughout the testing in January, throughout the entire speed weeks. And he said, you know, with the right formula, the right chemistry, and good communication, I feel like without a doubt I can get back to where I was when I was winning races and competitive driving at DEI.
You can't hang around Stevie Letarte and not be pumped up. That guy is always up, and I've said it over the whole week we've been here. I think that's a great marriage right here. I think it's going to be a good combination. I think those two guys are going to really be good for each other.
22nd on the first lap, 49.06.
That's the second quickest.
Yes.
That's a good
second quickest first lap.
Think about Trevor Bayne was 49.30 on his first lap.
And look at the differential right on it, right on pole speed. So Junior trying to knock that Ford off the front row and set up there with his teammate Jeff Gordon.
And I'm going to tell you what I think even makes this a really good lap. When his teammate Jeff Gordon qualified, the American flag we watched that gives us a good indicator of the wind was laying straight down. Now actually Dale Earnhardt Jr. is having to fight a pretty good headwind down that back straightaway.
Good numbers. Like
it's going to be close.
It's going to be right on it.
Gordon's lap of 48.396. Junior.
Do it. Yes.
First. 48.364. 22.1000.
I think Junior Nation came to life. We actually talked about earlier, you know, I don't know that the ambient has jumped up that much since the start of the qualifying session, but definitely the sun beating down on this track, the track temperature has gone up.
Yeah, and you know, he said he got tied up all 4. You know, we've seen so many guys chase their car up all 4. So the track is changing a little bit, and it just depends on where your car is.
Carl Edwards is all over the time that his teammate Matt Kenseth ran, but he got wiggled late exit of turn 4, but he's going to end up 3rd quickest. Right now we've got 3 of the 4 Roush Fenway drivers in the top 4. One of them
in the DuPont Chevrolet. On track as we have 7 drivers to go. Denny Hamlin is quickest at 38.03. Gordon, a 5-time pole sitter and 2-time winner at Michigan, with a whole handful of, and then some, of runner-up finishes here.
23 top 10 finishes he's had here at this racetrack.
We talked about this in practice. All they worked on, he and Alan Gustafson, was qualifying runs. Phil, he said earlier this week, he said, even with my 2 wins and looking like we're going to make the chase, he has the worst average start this year of his 19 years in Sprint Cup. He said, we know if we want to win the championship, we better start qualifying better.
Well, he has 8 front row starts here, and Gordon will time in 4th. He is just 1/100th slower than his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr.
No. Okay. Well,
you only get 140 characters on Twitter, and I guess there just wasn't room. Marcus Ambrose and the Stanley DeWalt Ford.
Yeah, speaking of characters,
heard Steve talk to him earlier. 4th top 10 of the year at Charlotte, and his 2nd in a row. Boy, are they gaining on it. They're up to 17th in points. And you know, if he could get that elusive win, it might just put him in the chase for this year.
They had a really good Dover and a really good Charlotte. And you know, he's in a really good brand of car right now with that Ford, because the Ford on the mile and a half racetracks seem to be where you want to be at this point in time in the season.
And he's also peaking as we head toward a very favorite racetrack and a place he feels like owes him one. And I'm talking about Infineon.
He almost equals his first lap, but 16th is going to be the mark for Marcus Ambrose. A little bit of a disappointment there.
They can't go for it, or they'll be one of the only driver to go home.
Yeah, they don't go for the pole. You know, very rarely do you see a go home or go for the pole. Basically, he says, okay, there's 10 cars here or 9 cars. I've got to beat these guys. I'm just competing with myself. So it's almost like 2 qualifying sessions sometimes.
Juan Pablo Montoya, the Target Chevy, finished in the top 10 both races here last year. He started 2nd in the fall race, and once again, to have a good shot at the pole, you want to see the first lap end up right about there. at about 11th or 12th, because that's how quick the first laps of Smith and Boyer were.
And he just slipped down in between 3 and 4. He got in the corner and had to work the thing up the racetrack.
And honestly, slipping there can even hurt your second
lap because you lose all that momentum coming to finish the first lap.
But look at this pickup.
Second lap.
He might get there. Up to the front row, up to the pole, entering the corner.
Just
Can
keeps
he
flirting
hold
with
it?
He will, I believe.
Yes. Montoya
Wow.
is fastest, and Regan Smith will not win the pole. 20.98 for Montoya.
Practically raining, extremely cold, and the track was very fast. But I'm still really happy with Red Bull Toyota. The guys did a great job this week. I think we have a really good car for the race.
20-degree track difference in temperature today from yesterday.
Yeah, it's definitely, we've been talking about that since the top of the show. It's, other than still being the same racetrack as far as conditions, totally different. Right now, Greg Biffle may have given Matt Kenseth something to shoot at, and it looks like so far through 3 and 4, he's shooting at it.
He definitely has it in his sights now as he gets down to the stripe. Does he take Biffle's spot? He does. 29.469 for Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, he bettered it by right at it.
Just a few moments ago, he got his best ever Watkins Glen result last year, a 4th, drove a very tidy race, and could definitely be vying for victory here tomorrow. AJ Allmendinger's qualifying lap begins right now.
Kyle, I say this actually is a bit of a compliment. This will either be really fast or it could be trouble for A.J. Allmendinger.
Yeah, and he was searching right there. You saw a little bit of brake smoke, just like we saw out of the 29 car when he went down into turn 1. I think he got in there a little bit hotter than he wanted to.
Through the S's.
He is driving that thing. Look at him pulling the wheel
driving the
there.
wheels off. Here's the King in amongst that crowd. One of 3 spotting locations here at the 2.5 mile Watkins Glen International.
What's he doing over there?
He knows where all the excitement is in the inner loop.
They either got pop shape. He has to check up out of the gas to let the thing settle down because he came through there all but sideways.
Yeah, that hurt him all the way through turn 5 and probably even up this short chute.
And up this way, and that's the problem.
Greg Irwin, his new crew chief, been on board now for about 3 races with him. Moving over from Roush Fenway was Greg Biffle's crew chief.
And this is a teammate thing. You want to be somewhere close to your teammate.
Wow, quickest.
How about that?
AJ Allmendinger steals the pole from his RPM teammate. After saying nobody's better here than Marcus, AJ Allmendinger shocks everybody and breaks into the 109s.
13 drivers have qualified so far. The 14th will be Marcus Ambrose in the DeWalt Stanley. Number 9 Ford. This is his 5th trip to Bristol. He has 1 top 10 start here. Now he's going to be part of this deal late Saturday where they try to set world speed records on this track. My money's on Brad Knopfsinger in that ISMA Super Modified.
Right now, my money's on Marcus Ambrose because he goes to the top of the charts to a 15-13.
Marcos likes his place. He, I don't, for whatever reason, I guess it just takes to his driving style, but he's run really well here.
Finished 10th here a few years ago for the race on 7 cylinders.
Yeah.
Second lap falls off 2 100ths, but Ambrose is quickest.
You can't get anywhere else. Watch NASCAR Victory Lane fueled by Sunoco at its new time, immediately following the Cup race and only on speed. Joey Logano in the Home Depot Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Next out on the speedway.
Hermie had been watching some drivers come through 3 and 4 earlier, come to take the green. And when you know you're only going to run 1 lap, that can be the most important part of the lap is how you get through there, come to take that green flag. It dictates the speed all the way down this front straightaway.
It really does. You got to get a good run off turn 4 to get to green flag. It also tells you a lot about what your car may be like on the actual qualifying run. Joey Logano must have felt pretty good to him, Larry. He goes to the top of the speed chart, 28.228.
Wendy standing by with one of our championship contenders.
Absolutely, and that would be Kevin Harvick deep in that hunt right now for that championship. When we come to this racetrack, how do you approach it with this many races to go?
I think we do the same things that we have been doing. Ream Chevrolet has driven good, but the speeds are so fast, we've been off a couple tenths. So we just got to keep pushing the pedal down until the car does something different. And
out of the race tomorrow. Stephen Light and Mike Skinner, the two still on the bubble, Travis Quapple and David Starr. And the two still to go that have to race their way in, David Stremme and Trevor Bayne. Now on the clock, the 22 of Kurt Busch.
You know, I read this week, Kurt, as we know, is a huge Major League Baseball fan, in particular Cubs fan. But this week, after we leave Chicago, he's going to head up to Toronto to watch the Toronto Blue Jays play a home game. When he goes into that ballpark, he would have now visited every single Major League Baseball park that's out there. That's a lot of ballparks when you think about it.
Yeah, very, very impressive. You hear about college students going on like a summer tour where they try to make up, good to all of the ballparks, but to be able to get to them all, not a lot of people can say that. Kurt Busch across the stripe, third quick, 29.503.
Johnson. It said last night when the tornadoes rolled through Alabama that the residents of the motor coach lot were brought to the infield media center, which was the biggest concrete block building in the infield, to kind of hang out and wait out the storms.
Yeah, the medical building down, medical center down there. A lot of people went in there and into the media room as well. So everybody kind of evacuated there for a little while. It got a little edgy for a while.
Following up on what Kevin Harvick told Chris Devoda, she mentioned it about the fact that they did have engine failure early in the Daytona 500, but when you think about it, there were 3 failures of the Earnhardt Childress Racing engine count. Jeff Burton, his teammate, had an issue, and Jamie McMurray had an issue late in the race and limped home on 7 cylinders.
I like the sponsor on this car. Thank a teacher. That's a nice little message there for Landon Castle and James Finch's car.
Well, I tell you what, they're going to thank Hendrick Motorsports right now because they do have Hendrick power under the hood of this 09 car, and right now he's flirting in the top 5.
That car has done very well here.
He's been a good qualifier, and of course that's the team that Brad Keselowski won with when he beat Carl Edwards. Wow, top 5. And that is going to close the book on everybody else. It's going to be a front 5 of Chevrolets right now as Castle completes his run.
Pretty steamy.
5th quickest, 53.89. Won the pole in 2008, led 38 laps, lost the engine. Dave Rogers ready to call him in.
This will be his first lap here, and as you mentioned, he laid down the fastest lap of the Sprint All-Star drivers in practice earlier today.
200 miles an hour into turn 3.
Why are you shaking your head?
Because that's going to be the fastest lap, I think, of all of qualifying today. He's pushing toward those 27s right there. Not quite there, but he was pushing it. We know Wild Thing will get this thing on pit road one way or the other.
Baby, he is.
Boys, that's the line coming to you.
Woo, woo. All 4. Got them smoking.
Yep, a lot of brake lock up on the M&M's Toyota.
A lot could be on this crew's shoulders.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Seems like not as much rubber in the launching pad area on the pit box. The top 2 guys both are using the same pit box that Kyle Busch is utilizing now. Solid on the right side. How's the time looking, boys?
Outstanding.
Yeah, world class.
Yeah, great pit stop.
Right on top of Tony Stewart's time.
If he was not speeding on coming in, I mean, this I think very well, as our tracker shows, he wasn't out of it long, was he?
Nails it, man.
And I think he's going to nail this pole.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pole man, Kyle Busch.
Look at that, Kyle Petty. How about that? Okay, so it's from another continent. I don't care. What's your point?
Hey, we're on The View. What are you talking about?
Yeah, thanks, Whoopi.
Casey Kane on the clock now. Right now flirting at 7th quick for Casey Kane.
Now, in that second practice yesterday, where Brian Vickers, his teammate, was quickest, Casey was second quickest right behind Brian Vickers. This first lap, and he'll shut it down, ends up 10th quickest at a 29.812, which actually puts him about 4 tenths off the pole of what Matt Kenseth ran.
You said he ran a tidy race?
That's not a tight lap. Here's the 420 car out there right now. So we're going to see if Juan can put something up.
I said either really fast or it was going to be big.
And we had a little glitch with our tracker there, so we couldn't monitor his lap in progress. Now we've got it back.
We needed a glitch with that tracker. That tracker throws me. But I'm going to tell you something. When we go back and look at that total lap, a little bit of brake lock in the turn 1, got through the chicane or got through the inner loop pretty good, but not good going into turn 5, it didn't look like.
Here's last year's race winner, Juan Pablo Montoya. He was victorious by over 4 seconds to get a Grand Prix. What this guy can do in a race car is magical. Can he complete it here in qualifying and edge Allmendinger and Ambrose off that front row?
He's right on top of him right now. A little bit of a slide through turn 5, but you look at the tracker, he lost a little bit of ground late exit of turn 5.
What this guy did best last year not only was speed and traffic management, but he looked after his car very, very well.
He got through turn 6. That probably hurt him right there, setting up for the final corner. I'm just not sure it's going to get there.
To the line, he's losing a bit. He's back. He's off on the second row. We'll see where it slots in. Montoya steals 4th from Ryan Newman. So at the moment, it's a Jimmy Johnson, Juan Pablo Montoya second row.
And I think starting Monday, September the 12th, a little new time slot for Race Hub. It's going to come on at 6 p.m. Eastern Time and a re-air at 8 o'clock the next morning. And the other thing I really like, Kyle, that Speed has done is starting with the chase at Chicago, NASCAR Victory Lane is going to come on as soon as the race broadcast is over. So you won't have to wait till 8 o'clock. Did you even know that?
No. Am I on that show?
You are.
I'm on that show.
Kyle, before we came on the air, I have to tell this. Kyle said, I hope this is the last show I do tonight. He's not even sure. He's going to finish qualifying, then look at his cell phone and see if he has anything else to do for Speed.
I think his fun meter is pegged.
He's about TV'd out. He's
TV.
still bitter for sitting out in the heat yesterday doing rehearsal.
What's the over-under that Dick Berggren will complete an interview with someone that's on the pole that's still on the pole by the time the interview is done? He's batting 1,000 right now the wrong way.
Well, we can't influence that, you know. Marcus Ambrose, 6th trip to Texas. His best start here is 11th. Finished 4th at Las Vegas. His best finish in NASCAR at a 1.5 mile speedway. And he's not going to take the pole from Regan Smith with this lap. Keeps closing in on it.
He's working on the front row, though, with his 9 car.
And the Stanley Ford clocks in at 28.77.
Allmendinger it's coming back a little bit. This is going to be right on top of Allmendinger.
Got a little high off at 4.
And Reagan got him. 28.17, 191.6.
That would have been an even better lap. He got to push in a little bit off of 4.
Don't make any old age jokes about Jeff Gordon. Yes, he's sponsored by the AARP. You get the solicitations in the mail if you're 50 or older, but he is ready to race and ready to win another championship this year. Last year, 9th in the standings, his 16th top 10 performance in the last 17 years, but he was in contention to win 4 races this year. He has a new crew chief this season, and he has what I believe is the longest tenure driving the same car of any driver here at Daytona. He's been behind the wheel of Rick Hendricks, number 24, here since 1993.
I believe he's fixing to lay us down a pretty good first lap in his 24 car, it looks like. 48.91, and that's on lap 1, Darrell.
It's a good lap right
What
there.
a lap.
That lap is the 11th fastest lap of the day, and it's only his first lap.
You know, funny quick story. Of course, we know he got into the scuffle with Jeff Burton at the Texas race.
He likes it. He
likes that. But when he got home that night late, his daughter Ella, 3 years old, looked at him and said, "Papa, were you wrestling with another man today?" He said, "Yeah, and Papa shouldn't have been doing that, but I was a little upset."
Here he comes, and this, by more than 1/10 of a second, could take the pole away from Paul Menard.
Here, water 240.
Jeff Gordon,
Good job, guys.
looking for his second Daytona 500 pole. He's on top. 48.396.
Sound like a lot of fun to me. I might go for that.
What eventually stops you?
They cut the air off.
Oh, okay. Do you bounce when you land?
I hope you have a net or something.
You know, kind of like what I was talking about Andy Lally.
No.
I just don't have a good feeling about that.
You stop it with your feet.
Marcus Ambrose on track. He was consistent here last season, a pair of 15th place finishes. Marcus has raced all around the world, literally. The 03-04 Australian V8 Supercar champion. And disappointment a week ago at Pocono after starting 7th. And this is the time when he needs to get it going. He's got a couple of road course races coming up in the next month or so that we know will fit nicely with his resume, and I'm sure he'd love to get it kick-started right here at Michigan.
Yeah, he's licking his chops for next week. That place, I'm sure he feels like owes him one. Talking about Sonoma.
Yeah, he dominated a year ago. 8.
He didn't make the chase last year, but those wins would have gotten him into the chase under the new format.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago when he didn't make the chase, back in 2009. Came up just a little bit short.
Last year, or excuse me, 2009, Kyle led 88 of the first 120 laps of the 500, but wound up for 41st after getting caught up in the big one.
You know, a lot of times we want to beat Kyle up for maybe walking away from the interview when he's had a bad day. But he said this offseason he relates his two philosophies about winning a lot to what Al Davis, longtime owner of the Oakland Raiders, always told his players. 1, there's nothing more important than winning. And 2, demanding a commitment to excellence from not only his team, but most of all from himself.
First lap for Kyle is about a 10th slower than Brad Keselowski and Bobby Labonte, who had identical first laps. You see him in 3rd place on the tracker. He's a newlywed, got married in Chicago on New Year's Eve, honeymooned for 2 weeks in Jamaica.
Just to follow up a little bit on what you said, Larry, about winning. You show me a guy that's not committed to winning, if that's not the only thing he thinks about, I'll show you a guy that doesn't win much.
I think we saw that last night in the Budweiser shootout.
Yes, we did.
It's amazing, though, our first 3 cars, Darrell, they run within less than a tenth of each other. That's about what we saw yesterday.
Here is the key statistic on this tracker in blue, white on blue, and that is the differential between this car and the fastest car. 1/10 of a second. Kyle Busch, 183.59 miles per hour. 3 is not because of driver points. It's car owner points. And for the first 5 races, we used last year's car owner points. Stewart's 14 was ahead of the Wood Brothers 21 in final standings. So Stewart will start ahead of Bain. Here is Marcus Ambrose in the Stanley. Woo, Stanley DeWalt Ford, and he's on a flyer.
Yes, he is.
It's a good one.
He was 6th quickest in practice, and he'll go to the top.
Did it, 28.69.
All right, P1. Woohoo. There you go. 28.69. Good job.
Toyota, who was fastest in yesterday's combined practice sessions. This will be his 4th trip to Kansas. His best start here is 4th. After Logano, we move to knockout qualifying, but let's see if he can back up that practice speed.
Well, the one encouraging thing for Joey Logano, just think back, that's a few cars ago, Kyle Busch went out and laid down a pretty impressive lap. He's 3rd quick right now in this qualifying session, so it should give, as Kyle and I have been talking about, should give Joey a little bit of confidence that the racetrack will handle maybe what he's trying to give him.
And his car looks good through 1 and 2 there. He looked good coming to the green. When he got into turn 3 and picked up the throttle, he looked good through 3 and 4.
Still gaining.
It's down right on that white line.
Yep. Can he get back into it and make it stick, though?
It bounced a little bit there, but he didn't chase it up the racetrack as far as a lot of those guys did. He kind of had it pointed straight. That's a good lap.
And he's going to knock Jamie Mack out of the top 5. 5th for Logano, 31.06.
What car when it comes to ringing him up on the radio? Harvick's got a different paint scheme. Paul Menard a little bit different with the Quaker State colors this weekend. Clint Boyer, different look in that all-black car. Those just the ones out of the RCR camp. So if you're a spotter or a driver, you really got to be on your game to make sure you know who is in what car, I'm guessing.
I think so. And I think it's almost harder for the spotters than it is for the drivers because you're just seeing them as little specks going around the racetrack. You know, from a driver's perspective, back a million years ago in this sport,
you had red cars and blue cars and yellow cars and green cars. Then in the 90s and on into 2000, you got these specialized paint schemes, and they became more and more prevalent with the diecast business. You know what I mean? That kind of drove a lot of paint schemes. And now the finances drive the paint schemes because nobody has one sponsor all year long. There are multiple sponsors. So when you go into these promotions and you go into these things, it's hard for a driver. You expect the one car to be that day-glow orange, that bright orange car. And all of a sudden you show up somewhere and it's green. And it totally throws you off because you think, who is in this car? So a lot of drivers, and most drivers, used to always just go by color. Color was the easiest thing. I can't imagine being a spotter.
Yeah, it's tough enough being a spotter here regardless of the circumstances, but the different paint schemes definitely throw them a curveball. Looking at Denny Hamlin in this 11 car, first lap for Denny, 51.22, and he's sitting here flirting with about where his teammates Joey Logano and Kyle Busch is sitting at 26.27. This seems to be the norm for the Joe Gibbs drivers. They don't have that speed in qualifying at Daytona, Talladega, but when they drop the green flag, they normally find the front of the field.
We told you about Kyle Busch and his win here in 2008. Denny Hamlin won here in the Bud Shootout.